Says it in here?
Yeah.
What page?
Under permits. I don't know what page,
I'm just joking.
maybe section 4, but permits issues.
Last week I worked 92 hours,
That's it?
but it's because of that event. This week I'll work 10.
Seven.
Looking.
7, go ahead, yep.
Call this meeting to order. Welcome. Moved by Councillor Corbett, second by Councillor McGinnis, that this meeting be open at 7 p.m. All in favor? Carried. Moved by Councillor Clark, second by Councillor Corbett, that the agenda presented to council and dated the 9th day of July 2024 be adopted as prepared. All in favor? Carried. Next, we have the any disclosure of pecuniary interest. Okay. Next, we have adoption of the previous minutes. Moved by Councillor McGinnis, second by Councillor Featherstone, that the minutes of the regular council meeting of June 25th, 2024 be adopted as circulated. All in favor? Carried. No presentations and delegations. And then we have staff reports. The first one is the report from the Deputy Clerk Treasurer, credit card fees. Anybody who wish to speak with that, to that?
So I would, Your Worship. So what was interesting to me of note, obviously we went, when I was reading, what I saw was the comparison to the other municipalities and just how many actually don't accept credit card payments. Did I read that correctly?
Yeah.
You did. The breakdown was here. There, as you stated, very few do accept them, and those that do, one had no charges, and one after, which was Sunridge, after reviewing all of the fees and everything, and because they also do payments through their website, so they didn't know how to do it fair to everybody. So they, instead of doing 2.9% for website and this much, or I think it was 1.35% from the terminal, the machines. So what they've done is they've established it at 1.55% and take a loss on the website payments. But most, and there was one more that came in today that also did not accept credit cards.
And my assumption would be, but maybe you can confirm, is it because of the fees? Did you get any feedback from other municipalities that they don't because of?
No, they didn't state why. They just
Yeah.
stated that they didn't accept them.
Okay.
And they never have.
No.
Sorry.
No,
They haven't, so they haven't gone down that road, so it's not like they have to ever take something away from someone. And from your last report, it looks like there are quite a few people who use credit cards.
a lot of people use
Yeah,
credit cards.
Yeah, so that service, I mean.
Yeah, I don't think we should be looking to take that service away. I just think we need to make sure that we're being fair and equitable to those that aren't paying by credit card, having to pay the fee on behalf of those that are. I think it's a good service that if somebody needs to pay with a credit card, they can. And we just pass on, we don't need to make a profit on it, but whatever that cost is from the credit card company to the township should be absorbed by that person paying credit card.
I did give council a couple of options to, based on the findings I had. So some of them was to either do nothing, stop accepting credit cards and website payments, only accept debit, do them but charge the fee that to recoup our costs.
And sorry, can I speak? So the report shows that there's a small fee for debit,
Yes, it's per
Um,
transaction and not per dollar amount.
whereas it's per dollar amount. for
Yes, as
credit
the other
cards.
ones are all per dollar amount.
Okay. And can you differentiate and charge them separately or no?
I'm not sure if we can, like, if somebody comes to the office here to pay, we can say, we can see if it's a credit card or a debit card.
Did we get that breakdown of how many were credit cards and how many were?
No,
Yes.
debit cards?
Was there?
Yeah. In the last report, there was a breakdown of how many were,
Okay. The
okay?
majority is credit cards.
Because everybody's looking for points, these, there's scene points, there's PC points,
There's
there's
cashback.
cashback, so a majority of them is why they use their credit cards is to get.
So I'm not sure, but the pilot could be that we charge the fee and see if it drops off, right? So we'll see if usage drops off if we implement a fee for service.
One or two, if you look at Armor Township and Calendar, the systems that they use, a fee is charged
Mhm.
to the payee instead of the charge being charged to us right now. The some that offer the website payments, the same thing with them, is it's automatically charged to them and not us trying to add 2.9%.
Correct.
It's automatically done. We get the full amount, but the card holder would get charged the fee on their
So it's like a third party.
Oh, that's.
yes, it's a
Yeah.
third party.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
That's good.
I
Yes.
like that.
me
Yeah,
too.
so I've encountered that with using my my credit card,
Mhm.
that there is now a fee for that.
Yeah.
And the fee goes to someplace else, and then the payment goes to the vendor, which.
Yes,
would be
because
the
right
vendor.
now we use Stripe,
Mhm.
and for each transaction, I'll say if somebody does a $500 transaction, we only receive $485.20. So the difference is what is kept by Stripe as their fee.
Okay,
So yeah, we're losing. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, so then the rest of the taxpayers are picking that slack up, essentially.
For context, is about $30,000 a
Yes,
year, right? Is what
yes.
it's costing us in
23,000
fees.
at least.
20,
I think 23,000.
23,000.
Yeah,
which is close to an additional percentage of
Correct.
taxes, so.
yeah. I think it was about 1% that we,
Yeah.
in that area.
And for some people, I will gladly pay the fee for the convenience, right? So that to me, I've got my routine, so that's for convenience. I think it's worth the fee. It will be worth it for some people and not for others. But I think it would be interesting to track and see how much credit cards fall off. So then, we might make another choice after we find out if.
Council did approve the pilot project of switching. Right now, we use Global Merchant for here. And council approved bringing in the Moneris, which is the one that we use because their fees are lower. So the pilot project is supposed to be from July to December to see how much the fees drop from there. And then again in January, when I have all of the details and everything for that 6 months, we can review that portion to see if we can change, but we can still make changes tonight, like whatever council wants to recommend.
So if we go for a fee for service, we can implement.
There is, when I was doing some research, there's some regulations that state that we have to give so much notice that we're gonna start charging, and we have to notify all of our customers and our banks and the system. So there would be maybe a month or two delay. I'm not sure what the timelines, I would have to go through them, but we could put that in place and then.
And can I ask another question? I'm not sure if this is related or not, but I get my tax notices by email. Does everybody get their tax notices?
No, you
by
have to
email?
opt in.
I get
Okay.
mine in paper.
Okay, is there
Of
a
course.
vast, because I mean, to me, that's a great communication tool, right? But I guess we would need everyone to,
We can't send random emails without people's permissions.
When they opt in,
Can't
sorry
do
if
it.
I may,
oh, yeah.
but when they opt in for the tax bill, that's what they're opting in for.
Okay.
So with the new rules, we can't just send out.
And right now, the system, we are very thankful that we have under 100 people because the system there's a glitch in it that will not allow us to send the emails. So we have to personally send each person an
Oh
email.
my goodness.
So we're hoping when we switch over to Town Suite, to put that back in and then, yeah. So when it's tax time, we're very happy to see that there's only a small bunch that only gets them through email.
You're welcome.
I like paperless though, right? So that's how
You're a new age woman.
I know, so. Anyway,
So, even though there's a fee for debit, there's no other way to collect money, right? Because you can't send checks anymore. They don't want to give you checks. So there's no other way for us to collect fees without it being online or without a credit or
automatic
with a
withdrawal.
debit card, right?
We accept check and cash. We have a customer who has been coming in here for 17 years that accepts cash. We have e-transfers. None of those cost us money per se.
The e-transfers do not cost
Nope.
money?
No,
No?
we pay, everybody pays banking fees and ours is 129 or 125, $125. But that includes all of our transactions, deposits, payees, everything. It's not just specific to accepting cash or checks. So there's no fees on those. There's no fees on e-transfers. We accept direct deposit from every bank except TD and RBC. And the reason for those two is because they would charge us a fee, which
And have
when
you checked that recently? Was that checked recently?
it was
Because I know-
checked last fall, I believe, with,
Okay.
yes, and they still charge.
Okay.
So we didn't want to go that route since none of the other banks charge. We have an employee who does work for TD and she looked into it and there was like, no. So that's why the e-transfers and
That's direct, that's debit, like, right? to take-
online deposit or direct deposit. There's
Direct
different
deposit.
terms, yes.
And so TD wouldn't allow me to set up a payment process, so that's what they're charging for. is that
Well, they
payment
would allow
process.
you know how you pay your
hydro
phone
and-
bill and
yeah, yeah.
everything? We would be charged for you using that service.
Okay.
So that's why we didn't sign up with them in RBC. And with I think it was RBC, there'd be a fee no matter how many times we used it per month.
And I could just set it up where you automatically take the money from my bank
That
account
happens
on
to
a
me.
specific date.
Yes,
Yeah.
sorry,
Open it up.
Councillor
There are
Corbett.
all of those options, yeah.
So that is the automatic withdrawal every month. So that's another option that we offer, which is of no fee to the taxpayers.
Yeah, I mean, debit is minimal. I mean, I would like to see the credit card go third party and then have e-transfers and stuff that doesn't cost any money.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not concerned about what is it, dollar, what is it, how much is it for debit?
Debit is
cents?
70
Not much.
cents.
70, yeah. So I'm not concerned about that because if you look at staff time, if somebody comes in with cash and or another way to pay, they still have to go to the bank and everything. So that is a regular business expense. It's the credit card payments that are costing exorbitant amounts.
Mostly the website is the biggest one, which is 2.9%. The credit cards, I think, is
0.57.
1.5.
Visa, MasterCard's 1.44.
Yeah,
Everybody's got a little different.
yeah.
So now there is a motion.
And I did leave the motion blank so that council could indicate which recommendation they wanted.
All right. Do you want, what option would is council interested in?
I think I am interested in option 4, which is require Stripe to include 2.9% processing fee with all payments. That's the third party piece. Am I right, Andre? Sorry, Deputy Clerk.
Number 4, yes, that would be for the Stripe, the website payment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's not something we can do till the end of the year, right?
There's a process too, and that's why if council agreed that we could do this effective January 1st. So that would give time to the staff to prepare, put everything in place, notify our residents, put notices, because I think there's something says 30-day notice that we must give before we start implementing this. So if council wanted to change that date of January 1st to as soon as possible, it's not in the motion itself, but
Can I ask one more question? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So option 4, the Stripe, is that just the website? If somebody
Yes.
comes in with a credit card to try and pay a credit card, that doesn't include that?
no.
So is there a hybrid between number 4
Yeah.
and implement a fee for somebody coming in to pay with a card?
Then you would just put on the motion option 4 and 5.
Okay. That's what I'm.
But then
thinking.
are we charging 2.4 on debit?
Yeah, that's not,
Then,
Oh, no.
right, we don't want.
so we,
Yeah.
so I think to me, I'd like to see the Stripe. And then the credit card, the 2.4, and leave debit.
Yeah, debit. Yeah.
Leave debit the way it is.
We'd be overcharging somebody. if
Right.
they
Oh,
paid with
yeah, we
debit.
don't want that.
And then,
No.
and then you got all the other free transactions like e-transfer and,
Yeah, of course.
I mean, I guess it's gonna be clumsy to write that all on there.
So just put option 4 and 5,
But
But
if-
then
so for the-
excluding debit card.
excluding debit.
But for the date, so that's approximately $1,800 a month that we're paying from now.
So I think we
for
should
the
do it as
entire-
soon as possible
year.
and
Okay.
as you work through
With
that
all
process.
the.
Yep.
um,
Yeah, it's not in the motion, so
yeah,
Not trying to put exorbitant amount of pressure on the staff, but like, I
No,
think it's
yeah,
just prudent
yeah.
when we can.
actually,
we
it
get
just,
it done.
yeah, when reasonable,
Yeah.
but hopefully before the end of the year.
okay.
Moved by Councillor Clark, second by Councillor Corbett, that council accepts the report on the associated cost of offering debit, credit cards, and website payments and options, and that option 4 and 5, excluding debit cards, be implemented as soon as possible. All in favor?
Yeah,
Carried.
As soon as possible,
Okay.
this means whenever you can.
Okay.
it's a good report.
Thanks.
So next we have the report from Deputy Fire Chief. The Fire Chief, Fire Department update, June 2024. Councillor Featherstone, do you want to comment on that or?
Sure, yeah, I'm just looking at it currently as well. So currently total volunteers is 23, 19 in operations and 4 on leave. Operations, this is from May 27th to current. They've had 5 alarms, 2 were medical, 2 were hydro lines, 1 grass fire, and a year-to-date total was 34. They've done some training on pump operations and live burn trailer. So live burn trailer was in North Bay. It was a pretty cool program. Fire prevention and public education activities. They did community day, fire prevention. They handed out goodie bags and did an evacuation plan education. They had the fire truck on display, and they even did fire extinguisher training for public. And then public relation events. They watered the rink for the June 14th weekend for RHRA Bonfield Barrel Derby. And upcoming fire prevention, they have Canada Day, standby for the medical and possibly parade. That's not really upcoming, is it? And then introduce Fire Smart program education booth.
I have a question. Do we know when they're out on, trees on hydro lines and stuff, are we billing hydro for these calls?
So I've asked about that a couple times at our meetings, and both the fire chief and the deputy fire chief said that we should contact the CAO, that they were going to contact the CAO to make sure that that was getting done. So I'm in the dark a little bit on that as well, but we have requested that for a while.
So we have not contacted Hydro or anyone. We don't necessarily know when they are out on a hydro a tree on the line call.
Wouldn't
So
that-
then they would report back to us. So if there's been any recently since those last requests, then they would come into us and then we would.
But wouldn't
So
that be
like-
up to the fire chief to do that?
So I believe Councillor Clark and myself have been asking for 14 or 15 months on
Oh.
that now. At meetings, but
I mean, cause go ahead.
One, do we not allocate resources to the fire department for admin support?
yes,
Why would it have to come to our CIO to process that? They have admin support.
Yeah, I'll follow up.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, cause it's a lot of money that,
Yeah.
we should be billing, cause hydro's trees are. The staff have to sit there and babysit that until they disconnect the power. So it should be billed out at MTO rates.
Yep.
Just a question.
It's a good one.
I'd asked before.
All right, moved by Councillor McGinnis, seconded by Councillor Featherstone, that council accepts the June 2024 fire department update submitted by the deputy fire chief. All in favor? Carried. Okay, the next one. Report from the CAO. The open question period for the council agenda. So we have to decide what option we want there.
Maybe to run through the report really quick.
Do you want to give the report? No? Okay.
Well, so my recommendation is that council receives this report to make an informed decision on adding question period to the council agenda based on options and provide the details of a policy to be created, should one be necessary, just meaning that council says yes. So the background, council heard a delegation from Dave Hodges on May 28, 2024, requesting that the question period be reinstated on the council agenda. The agenda formerly had this section and it was removed about 10 years ago. So you asked for a report on bringing this back. So this is a report. The first section is just reiterating again that what you can currently do to help make the decisions on township businesses. Of course, we are governed by the procedural bylaw and our notice bylaw. They set out the rules for notifying residents of matters before council. The notice period is also to ensure that council has sufficient time to read, review, and further research a topic prior to a meeting if necessary. And council also has this time to ask questions of staff for clarification. So the bylaw states that the agenda is issued, the council agenda is issued on the Friday prior to the meeting and is posted on the municipal website in full. So it's all of the attachments that are on the website. So residents are welcome to read the agenda package and ask questions or seek clarification on the agenda items. They can call an individual council member or a member of the staff. They can submit written correspondence through email, post office, or the drop box at the front of the municipal office, and then we will provide an answer. Residents could also attend the municipal office to speak directly to the staff member handling any specific topics or questions that they have. There are also other ways if the resident has a topic of interest that's not on the agenda, so residents can request a delegation before council. They're required to submit a letter for the agenda package. Again, the notice bylaw says that everything that is on council must be provided by notice. If they don't wish to present, then the letter can go elsewhere on the agenda. It's either under matters for discussion or correspondence, depending on what the resident wants as an outcome. Sometimes it's just to share information. Sometimes it's because they want you to take an action. There's also a rule in the procedure bylaw that prohibits the same item once a decision has been made coming before council more than once per calendar year to ensure that the business of the township is efficient and continuous. So in reviewing the analysis for the question period on the agenda, I have spoke to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing, fellow clerks. They have cautioned to ensure that we do this properly, and it's a question period is well managed to provide a meaningful experience for everybody. So the applicable law for question period is the Municipal Act, states that every municipality shall pass a procedure bylaw for governing the calling, place of proceedings of meetings, and states that the procedure bylaw shall provide for public notice of meetings. So our bylaw 2023-48 states notice of the meeting is due the Friday prior to the regular meeting. And the full agenda again is posted on the website, and the cover letter is on the front door. The notice shall include the date, time, location of a meeting, and the items of business and the order of proceedings. And those are the key things to know for that notice. Is it's the items of business and the order of proceedings. Section 13 of our bylaw also states that the proceeding of the meeting and details how to introduce the item for discussion with the mover and seconder. So this is mandatory prior to council speaking to any item on the agenda. The Ombudsman Office investigates any contraventions of our rules. That would be for any of our bylaws, but specifically they will look at the procedure bylaw and any notice bylaws. So they conducted many investigations, learning from their best practices. They've interpreted that while the Municipal Act does not specify the notice content, whenever possible, advance public notice should include information about all open and closed portions of a meeting and meaningful information about all items to be considered. So further stating that the agendas currently reflect the specific matters intended to be discussed at a particular meeting. That's really important because it's yet again another check that it's another process and procedure that municipal councils must follow. And then the Ombudsman Office also states that there's no automatic right for the public to speak or participate in a meeting. There's a distinction between the citizens' right to participate and the right to observe municipal government in progress. The open meeting requirements set out in Section 239 of the Municipal Act permit the public to observe the political process. Then the Supreme Court of Canada stated the objective of open meeting rules in its decision in the 2007 case with London and RSJ Holdings. The judge notes that the public's demand for more accountable municipal government and stated that open meetings are essential to robust democratic legitimacy of local administrations. They also observed that Section 239 of the Municipal Act was intended to increase public confidence in the integrity of a local government by ensuring the open and transparent exercise of municipal power. So to summarize, the laws are that council meetings are to be open with a few exceptions, and the notice must be provided on meeting details and provide particulars of agenda items. So what does this mean for us? I did look at the federal government and the provincial government as well, and the procedures that they have. I've spoken to many colleagues that in the past did have question period or currently have question period and what their best practices or any tips that they had. So then here's our considerations. So the type of question, and I know at the end of this report, I've asked for council to kind of answer how you want these, but these are the considerations and what we need to have in a policy. So the type of question, the question must be a question seeking information and not a statement or a comment. The question asked by a resident must be within council's jurisdiction and will not be answered if there's any applicable confidentiality rules. It's evident from the applicable laws that question period cannot be open enough to allow any question on any topic, and the question must relate to an item on the agenda. And by this, I mean that our notice bylaw, the Ombudsman and the Supreme Court have said that everything that's on the agenda must be open. So we're providing public notice of what council will speak to. So if we have a question period and there's any discussion that's not on that agenda, we have not provided the public notice. So if we're not providing the public notice, then that's a contravention of our rules, and the Municipal Act and the Ombudsman will investigate should they receive a complaint. So the time of the question, some allow anywhere from 20 minutes to a maximum of 45 minutes on the agenda for this section. It's generally that there's a maximum of 2 minutes per person to ask one question, or 2 minutes per one person. Later on, you'll see it depends if it's before or after in the agenda. So the placement on the agenda, if the question period section is at the beginning of the meeting. The attendee can ask a question that could be addressed when the topic comes up in the agenda proceedings. However, they would not be permitted to ask any follow-up questions. So my second section I didn't read, sorry. When there is a question, it's 2 minutes per person to ask one question. Council can respond, and then there could be one follow-up question, but that entire process would be a maximum of 2 minutes. That's typically what I've seen as the best practice. So if we had it at the beginning of the meeting, council can't speak to it at the time that they ask the question, because it can't be, there has to be movement and seconder in order to have the conversation, and then to speak to it. So they could ask the question when there is a movement seconder, when it comes on the order of the agenda, then you could speak to it and address those questions. But there would be no public participation, and there would be no follow-up clarification questions. That would just be, you could just answer that one question. Then if the question period is at the end of the meeting, they could ask for a clarification, but the decision has already been made by the time that it's come to the end of the meeting. So this is the one big caution area when introducing question period. You can't speak to it until it's been introduced. Questions at the end of the meeting would allow for the question, but the decision would already be made. So to address these consequences, the resident could call a municipal official prior to the meeting to seek information. There are pros and cons to both methods. In the beginning, the question can be addressed, council can speak to it. And then there's more opportunity. If it's at the end, there's more opportunity. So there's no right or wrong way to place the question period on the agenda. It'll just be important to manage the time and the questions to ensure it's fair and consistent, to avoid any complaints in not following any applicable law. Other considerations are the reply to a question. So a question on the agenda item, which typically has a supporting document included in the agenda package online, could be in the package, and it could be answered there or at the council meeting in a council member's opinion or interpretation of those. Again, you're introducing the topic, so council hasn't had the council conversation on a topic. And a question could be more complex, and council may not be able to answer if they don't have the information immediately available to them. So this was another area of caution. So it's important that everyone understands not all questions can be answered immediately. As this is a council meeting, unlike committee members, staff are also not free to speak without the approval of the mayor or being directly asked a question. Staff do have more flexibility than the public, as they would be speaking to provide municipal information to assist council in making informed decisions. It would be acceptable that council could defer the question. Equally important, when deferring a question, there should be a time frame for a reply. Most indicated a reply between 14 and 30 days from the date of the meeting. There are some questions asked that there is no answer to, whether the question is based on misinformation, not appropriate to answer due to confidentiality, or for any other reason. And this is proven to be a cause of concern when residents are asking those questions, and then they may grandstand and it can disrupt the rest of the meeting. And that's one of the recommendations of having, or one of the reasons why it was recommended to have it at the end of the meeting. And it does happen. And then the notice of agenda topic. So all agenda items must have the notice to the public. This includes question period. That would be on a section of the agenda. So although as indicated above, questions are recommended to be regarding items already on the agenda, some municipalities require the question be submitted in writing by Monday at noon to the meeting, so that there's a notice. So then those questions are then posted on the website, and there's notice that's provided that these questions are coming. Again, keeping in that consistent that you're providing as much notice as you can to the public about what will be discussed at the meeting. Having it on Monday may also help you prepare for a reply, give you time to do any research or ask any questions. Other municipalities do not require the question in writing and are only oral, and that's acceptable. If it's managed well, to stay only on the agenda topic and then not divert. So in summary, the cautions that we've heard from having an open question period on the agenda are regarding notice of the items, staying consistent with any of the perimeters that are set out by council, Ensuring accurate and transparent information is being relayed, and any policy must contain rules on behavior and conduct and eligible questions as well. The benefits of having an open public question period on the agenda are the opportunity for residents to be engaged in the municipal process. Again, ensuring that accurate and transparent information is being relayed, and the public have the right to seek information, and this provides one more avenue for them to do so. So the options are: do not add question period to the agenda, add it for the remainder of 2024 as a pilot project, or just add it immediately and permanently. If you do decide to add it to the agenda, I do have a list of questions that would be used to form a policy so that it's set out in procedure exactly how question period would operate. So we do maintain the integrity and the applicable law.
Thank you. I don't know if I should ask. Any questions? Any questions?
Yeah.
Let's start with the first one here. The option 1, 2, or 3.
I'm at one.
Hmm?
I'm at one. It's just this, I mean, there's so many opportunities to come before council. We don't need a question period, and it's gonna be so hard to keep it in the scope that it needs to be. I mean, I think we're just asking for trouble.
I'm not, oh, sorry.
Do we know why it was canceled?
We do not.
I know why it came on originally,
Right, yeah.
because the people asked for it.
I think it is a good idea always to have a question. I think the more accessible we are, the better. The struggle is going to be the beginning or the end, right? So this is because the beginning is probably going to be more informative for us to make decisions because we're hearing concerns. But we just can't ask questions or whatever, but by the time we get to talk about it, at least they've twigged our concern.
But I mean, when we talk about it, we say something, they can't speak to it.
That's
then.
correct.
So I mean,
That's correct.
it makes no sense, like, to do this.
You're huffing and puffing.
Yeah. Sorry. Better job containing that. I am actually in favor of a question period, and with limitations. It is going to be, and let's be clear, an exercise in frustration for those trying to ask questions and not get a response that night, and all of the above. We need to ensure that people understand the best way to try and get answers to reach out to us outside of the meeting and air your concerns, ask your questions, let us have a conversation about it. That's the best way to be able to help shape council's opinion on matters. So I am in favor of having a question period, but I would want it to be, my opinion is, at the end of the meeting. And I say that because I think we need to have it not necessarily be, it needs to be bigger than whatever we're currently talking about on the agenda. There is mechanisms to make a presentation at council on topics of the day. This could be about broader municipal topics. So I would say end of the meeting, open to any topic. Quite frankly, they have 2 minutes with one follow-up. And of course, we can defer anything that we don't necessarily have answers to, provide up to 30 days for us to be able to get a response to those questions. But I think that it balances, in my opinion, the ability to we're not shutting down. We're not creating a perception that we're shutting down an ability to talk to council, even though it's really not the most effective way to do it.
Did the CAO not just say that we have to stick exactly to the agenda? You can't ask broad questions.
No, you can ask broad questions. One of the questions
It's
that she
highly
asked.
recommended that it not be open.
Yeah.
Because then so you can do it open. So it's highly recommended not to do it open, but if you do it open, they should submit their question.
Yeah.
Prior
sorry.
to the meeting, like the Monday prior to.
Yes.
So that you can still provide notice. You have to change the procedure bylaw no matter what.
Yeah.
So you have to amend that. So you have to amend it to how you want question
Yep.
periods. If you want any open question, they can't ask a question unless they submitted it in writing so that you can provide that notice.
Yes.
And why not do a
So-
delegation? Like, It's,
I got asked. Steve.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
I'm in favor of it. I like it at the beginning, only so that, you know, we can hear their concerns and maybe we can address them as it comes up in the agenda line. Obviously delegations have to be requested the week before. Some people are gonna get wind of what we're talking about at the current council meeting over the course of the weekend or the Monday. They're not gonna have time to apply for a delegation. I think that's where these question periods could
Sorry,
come
just a
in.
point of clarification on that, if I could.
Well,
If,
it's up to
if,
Mary.
if that's just a point of clarification, so, but the question must be a question seeking information, it can't be a statement. So to do it at the beginning as a, like they would have to try and form it, if they're, what they're trying to do is provide information to council on an opinion. Try and form it in a question, I guess, like, what's that?
Like Jeopardy.
Like Jeopardy, yeah, like, you know what I mean, like they can't, so that's great if they're trying to make a statement, but again, there's built-in mechanisms already to make a statement to council about, make a delegation, talk about your issue, all of that. I vision the question period about not being so much of the hot topic of whatever moment of the day, but like, let's talk about concerns people have, bring them forward, ask a question, ask it, like, I'm okay with that kind of information. I think we have to get away from the mindset of it has to do with exactly today's topic, because use one of the other mechanisms that's available to you to discuss today's topic, right?
So for Councillor Featherstone, I think that if it's the Sunday or the Saturday or the Monday after the agenda is closed and you can't make a delegation, we have to redirect people to us. People need to call us. So we want you to call us. Then we start to thinking, and then when it comes up, it's like, no, this is what I've heard from the community, right? And so that's the practice that we should be pushing, is that people should be calling us and voicing their concerns in a respectful way. We can have conversations. We will note what their opinion is, and that's our job, is to bring that forward. These things, that a perspective that we may not have thought about, right?
There's so many different options. We shouldn't have question period.
So I do have a question for the mayor and possibly for Andre. So you've lived through this, correct? So did things get out of hand? I mean, obviously you brought it in because there was a need for it, and did it work well? And was it before or after?
I never felt that was any sort of like, people didn't come in and all argue about something. If people come in and they had a question, sometimes as council, we found out things that we didn't know when the people came in with a question and asked us things that what was going on. We weren't aware of it. I always enjoyed the opportunity to give the people the thought that, yes, council does want to hear them. Council wants to hear what they want to ask, but that's my opinion. And we have to go with what everybody feels here. But I think that if we went with only as a pilot project, not amend our bylaws or anything like that, go as a pilot project until the end of 2024, and we'll find out if there's really a need for it. And I'm feeling people are saying, well, you can't go there, you can't ask any questions. Well, you're not going to be able to come in here and the minute council starts speaking about something, you can't ask questions at the time. So possibly ask it at the end in an orderly fashion. It may work out for us and it may work out for the people as well. And I think if we didn't I wouldn't want to see 45 minutes. Our council minutes our meetings are long enough. If you give 20 minutes and offer the 20 minutes, and people have to be fair as well. They can't get up there and talk for 20 minutes and not everybody have a chance to ask the question. So I would like to see that. And if we can't answer the question, but if it's related to the topics that we're dealing with, we should be able to answer it then. But if not, I think this question, if there was a question, it shouldn't hang over our heads for a month. We should be able to deal with it the next council meeting. And that's just what I think.
Having
I
anything to add
agree.
about your experience or?
The, before it was removed, every meeting, we had members of the public. There was, I believe it was 10-minute question period, which was open, like it was not specific to the agenda. It was just to whatever. We did find throughout those that as council was discussing, we'll say the user fees for credit cards, one of the attendees would pipe up and ask a question that council had not considered and may have an input. So there was that opportunity at that time. Why it was completely removed, I'm not sure. I wasn't doing the meetings when that happened, but I do know from before, and a lot of people who would come before stopped coming for that reason. That was their comments as well. You can't ask any questions. Why bother going? You know, they were coming here to listen to council debate the different items on the agenda, offer an opinion, which, like I said, you know, council may not have even thought of. And with not being able to put any input whatsoever, they just stopped coming.
But they could, again, they could reach out before the council meeting.
Mhm.
I mean, it just,
Yes.
I would say reaching out is obviously the preferred method and the most effective method, honestly. It would be, if anybody's looking to figure out how to work government relations, reach out to your counselors. That's how you do it. But I would just actually say, what I would fundamentally disagree with is, as we're having a debate on a topic, is somebody popping their hand up and asking a question out of the audience. It's actually disrespectful to the process that's established at the council table and the municipal act. Like, that is not an appropriate use of a question and a question period. Before, at the end of the meeting, we can figure that out. But it is not to disrupt
Mm.
council. It is not to have what happened a few weeks ago in a meeting. Like that needs to be stopped, because that actually is just terrible for the process that we're trying to establish. So that's my
Okay,
opinion.
I like it at the end. I think it should be at the end and everybody can stay.
Mhm.
They can hear everything, not just part of the story. Come in the beginning, all talk and they got their answer and they're gone. No, come and take an interest in our community, take an
Mhm.
interest in
I
our
love
meeting.
that, for sure.
I'm not sure what a pilot is gonna do for us in that. I think it's a great idea to have a question period, so I think I mean, if we try it and nobody comes, are we gonna say, no, we don't need it? Or until another issue comes up and it's like, well, we wanna be heard, so.
You just want to make it permanent, whatever we decide.
I'm not sure that you know, I think a pilot is good, but then at the end of a pilot, yes.
If I may. So in order to change the procedure bylaw, if it's not a pilot, in order to change the procedure bylaw, I have to give notice that we're changing the procedure bylaw, so we would not be able to start this until September.
Pilot it is.
No, not pilot is the point, right?
No,
Pilot it is,
Pilot.
yeah, so it's a lot of work if,
Because you can pass a motion that the motion will allow us to introduce question period onto the agenda as a pilot. And then
Oh.
you change it at whatever the pilot, I think I recommend December until the end of the year. Yes.
So motion, we can change our procedural bylaws on an ongoing basis, not just a one-off in a meeting.
Just as a pilot, because you're starting a new program, but then you have to go to change your procedure bylaw. So I would start in November, come back and go, hey, how are we doing with question period? Do we want it to continue? Then December, and I can give the notice so that effective January, it's immediate, it's permanently in the agenda.
Okay, just one more question. So we are able to pass a resolution to temporarily change our procedural bylaw, but not, like, I know that that's a mechanism in meeting.
Mhm.
We can do that for multiple meetings in a row, or do we have to pass a resolution at the beginning of every council meeting during that pilot project? Because I'm not sure that we can pass a resolution to suspend the procedural bylaw for longer than the meeting we're currently in.
Okay, I'll double check.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just, well,
Yeah,
and if we
yeah,
have to
it's a-
pass
it's
it,
a process.
if it's
That's a
just
process.
if it's just a
Yeah,
resolution,
yeah,
we need to
yeah.
pass it every council
Yeah,
meeting between
yeah.
now and September. It's not the end of the world
Yeah, yeah.
either, right? It's just a standing item on the agenda.
Yeah, it
And-
just goes with we adopt the agenda with
Yeah,
question
yeah,
period. and-
absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah.
And we will know by that time whether it's gonna work. If for any reason it gets out of hand, then no, we're not going to continue it, number one. Or if people are not going to use it, doesn't matter if we have it on the agenda, and no one's here. Or we're going to know more if we try it, I think. More
I agree.
than now we don't know, we're just saying. People seem to be asking for it. Let's try to give them what they're asking and see how it works out. That fair?
Yeah, that sounds good. I do like the idea of submitting questions beforehand, only because it could be the question that's on a lot of people's minds, and they will see, oh, this question's going to be asked. That's great. I don't have to ask that question then. I know it's a little onerous, but I think it's a good practice, because then you don't get the duplicate questions as well, right?
Quite frankly, that, and if they want a better shot at getting a more fulsome, wholesome answer.
Yeah.
It's not a pop quiz gotcha kind of moment. It's let's have an honest dialogue about things, right? So.
But if they had to give the question first, okay. But if they picked up the agenda and decided to ask us questions before we've done anything on it, then that can't happen either, right?
Right, so this goes back to, is it at the beginning or the end? But if they submit the question, then it depends when it is on the agenda. But they can't, there's not, except for at the end, that's the only time that there could be dialogue,
But the decision's already made then.
but the decision's made. So if they present a different perspective, then the decision is already made.
So I propose an experiment. What if we defer this and we ask people to contact us with their preference, right? I don't know.
So
But am I opening up a can of worms there?
I
But
don't like the experiment.
Yeah.
but it's their question period, right?
I think people need to understand the procedural bylaws better than they do and pay attention
Yeah,
to how the
yes,
process works,
there
because
is.
there are already built-in mechanisms. And again, we need to reframe this, that the question period isn't necessarily about what's on the agenda. Know what's on the agenda, make a delegation, talk to your counselors. But if you want to ask a general question about like any other topic, sure, like, and we can have a dialogue about it. I also like it at the end of the meeting, because then it trickles into other conversations that can happen between the councilor or mayor and individuals within the audience after it's done, if we want to stick
Yeah,
around.
I was leaning towards agenda only, but I kind of like the open, because.
You're gonna go down a
Oh,
rabbit
no.
hole that's.
I hope so. Like that's,
But-
but
That's not the time. I mean,
I'm fine with it. It doesn't mean we need to answer every question. We can
Well-
defer and say we don't have an answer now, and they will get a written response, but.
Keeping in mind, we're giving 2 minutes. And we've got 5 people to answer that in 2 minutes.
yeah, I mean,
That's,
And someone,
Who all like to talk.
and someone may come and say, I'd like to ask Councillor Corbett or Councillor Clark this question.
yeah, that, I think to be specific to ask.
Some may, but some won't.
Okay,
Can you
we're
go
over
through?
2 minutes.
Can we go through the list of
You guys use the social
questions
media?
so that I can create a policy?
Pardon?
Can we go through the list of questions to set up how this is gonna look so I can set a policy?
Mhm.
So the type of question, it can be any question related to municipal governments and operations. As long as it's submitted in writing the Monday prior, by noon on the Monday prior to.
I'm good
Is
with
that
that.
what I'm hearing?
Yes.
I like
You
that.
good with that?
I like that.
End of the meeting, oh, how long? 20 minutes?
I think 20 is too long.
It was previously
15?
10.
Yeah, I would
Was it
stick with,
previously 10?
I would stick with
believe
the
that's what
10.
Deputy Clerk said.
Oh, okay.
So it'd be-
Okay, let's do 10.
5 questions,
Yeah,
give or take. I
10,
mean,
10 is good.
2 minutes a person. Beginning or end?
And
Agreed.
You guys want
Yeah,
that?
yeah, and
Yeah.
that's good.
What about you?
And
I liked the beginning only because we can kind of shape our answers and our decisions. But you guys have brought up good points at the end as well, so.
Dan?
Dan doesn't want-
I don't want it, so.
I know your answer already.
Right, so.
He's at the
You
end,
guys-
but the very,
You guys
very
do
end.
what you want, because I'm
Yeah.
out on this one.
Councilor McGinnis will be answering no question.
So
I'm-
we're saying option 2, right?
Yes.
Moved by Councillor Featherstone, seconded by Councillor McGinnis.
Did we finish?
The council receives this report to make an informed decision on adding question period to the council agenda, choosing option 2, and providing details of a policy to be created should one be necessary. All in favor?
Do you need us to answer
Okay.
the rest of those questions, though?
Number 6 only in the time period to get back to a question confirming that it was stated that it would be the next council meeting.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. If, like, I
So
would.
it's
love to-
14:30, but then I heard here that it was by the next council meeting.
Which is 14.
Remember 14?
I'm fine with 14 as long as what we're not doing is. That could get out of control pretty
I-
quickly.
yeah,
If all of a sudden you have a list of questions that are longer than.
Yeah, and we, like,
can
that's gonna be a time suck if these questions,
And
because it's staff.
it's more on
to run
staff.
ask. Yeah, so not 14. I don't think 14. I don't know.
I would like to strive for 14, but I think we need to give ourselves,
Yeah,
like,
that's not.
like, I think realistically, hopefully we can turn it around within 14. But I think if we're gonna pass a resolution, let's give ourselves 30 and the staff 30, just in case there's
Okay.
research that needs to be
Yeah,
done or
yeah.
a backlog of questions.
So we got that one. And then the next one, we have the adoption of committee minutes, motions. And I think this one will have to be amended. Moved by Councillor Corbett, seconded by Councillor Clark. Whereas the Corporate Services Committee recommended to council that the pulverizing and dust control road work on Development Road be completed in 2024 from Mount Pleasant Road to Line 3. Be it hereby resolved that council approves of this recommendation.
So I think we're gonna amend from line 3 to Trout Pond.
No, Trout Pond to Mount Pleasant.
Yeah, but I said Mount, sorry, I meant Mount Pleasant.
Not
We're gonna
Mount, yeah.
change it from line 3 to
Right.
Mount Pleasant.
Yeah.
No.
No.
No,
Trout
Trout
Pond,
Pond to,
Trout Pond to Mount.
yeah, change from line 3 to Trout Pond. Oh my goodness.
Okay.
yeah,
Mount
it's been a long
Pleasant.
day.
To Trout Pond.
There you go.
Mount Pleasant
No,
to
we're gonna
Trout
change
Pond.
it.
I'm
from-
gonna read it again, so everybody knows where we're going.
We're gonna change it.
Whereas the Corporate Services Committee recommended to council that the pulverizing and dust control road work on Development Road be completed in 2024 from Mount Pleasant Road to Trout Pond Road. Be it hereby resolved that council approves of this recommendation. All in favor? Carried.
For the record, we changed the word. Line 3 to Trout Pond. That's what I was trying to spit out.
Okay. So next, where are we going?
That's fun.
I guess this would be under planning.
You have, I believe, 3 recommendations from the Corporate Services Committee.
Oh, yeah, okay. Moved by Councillor McGinnis, second by Councillor Corbett. Whereas council adopted motion 6 on February 27, 2024 to appoint the planning administrator as the liaison for council and the Steel Rails nonprofit organization. And whereas a nonprofit group would not be eligible as a subcommittee of council, and whereas the committee reaffirms to council its desire to work with the historical group with the planning administrator as the liaison to their organization and attend meetings during business hours, be it hereby resolved that council approves of this recommendation. All in favor? Carried. Next, we have, this was under corporate services, yes. Moved by Councillor Clark, second by Councillor Featherstone, whereas the Corporate Services Committee recommended to council that a campfire fire permit is mandatory to ignite a campfire within the township, and further that the permit should be valid for the period in which the applicant is the owner of the property, and further that the cost of the permit should be $0, no charge. Be it hereby resolved, the council approves of this recommendation. Any questions? Jason?
Oh, I don't
Oh,
know. Oh, other than the permits can be found online.
Yes.
And is this the bylaw? This is,
Yes.
so, in the bylaw, it currently states, 20 feet from any combustible source, anything combustible. That is pretty large compared to what you see from the province or other municipalities, which City of North Bay has 6.5 feet. So I don't know if we want to reconsider an amendment to that bylaw to bring that down. I think 20 feet seems like I have a pretty large lawn and I'm pretty sure I'd have a hard time having a fire. So,
Natalie,
yeah, yeah.
Can I ask that question of the fire chief and the deputy fire chief? They did review and they did make recommendations in this bylaw, based on the knowledge they had. You don't have to, but I would.
so can we defer this?
They didn't review the bylaw, they created the bylaw. Right, like, we didn't really create this.
Sure. I think it would have been helpful to have somebody from the fire department here this
Right.
evening while we're discussing one of these, but sure, if we need to defer, we can defer for a meeting, it would be my opinion, but
In processes, if I may, for process, because we put out, the fire permit information online last week, and we did not expect the uptake that it has taken, so there are a number of people who have the permit. So you do have the option of requesting a reconsideration on the bylaw. If it is passed, then whoever voted in favor of that, you're gonna have one request for reconsideration and bring it back after we've had an emergency committee and have them review it and ask that question. So you can still pass the bylaw, then ask for a reconsideration. And you could certainly ask the fire chief and the deputy fire chief to comment on that section and then get the answer through the committee and then come back.
Can we not just get this through tonight? I mean,
What-
making a 10-foot radius is reasonable.
yeah, so sure, except I would go to the opposite end of it. I would rather reduce it tonight. And if there is evidence as to why it shouldn't be reduced, then a reconsideration can come forward to
Absolutely.
increase it.
Yeah,
But I think
that's
let's just start with a smaller radius
Yeah,
or
like,
circumference.
10-foot center of your fire pit, 10 foot around that.
Yeah, well, we'd have
Non-combustibles.
to be careful because that's 10 feet, 20 feet from the center. So you're 10 feet each
Each
side.
side.
Yeah, sorry.
You're 10
Yeah.
feet all the way around.
I'm fine.
I'm good with that. I
I'm
mean-
comfortable with that.
So
Can you
Sorry,
this is
over-
going to be, this is going to be,
Amended.
do we have to amend it
Mhm.
before we pass this bylaw, right?
You'd have to amend it on that resolution.
On this resolution, not on the bylaw itself, correct?
Yeah, because you'd have to do the bylaw as amended.
Right.
Do you know what section that is?
Yeah. It is section, 1 point, oh, no, that's not the number, hang on. Regulations.
In section
2.1 E.
22.
So the motion should read as amended in section 2.1.
2.1
2.1, D and E, actually.
B.
D as in dog and E as in elephant.
E's in it. Okay,
And it's in one
all right, I'll read it again. Whereas the Corporate Services Committee to council recommended to council
Okay.
that a campfire fire permit is mandatory to ignite a campfire within the township, and further that the permit should be valid for the period in which the applicant is the owner of the property, and further that the cost of the permit should be $0, no charge. Be it hereby resolved, the council approves of this recommendation as amended, in section 2.1 D, E,
And 1.4B.
and 1.4 B. All in favor? Carried. Okay,
We're making you earn your money tonight.
Yeah, geez.
now. Nothing from emergency services.
No, there's still more.
Do I have more?
There's one more on the other side for corporate
Oh,
services.
The next page. Oh, yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
Moved by Councillor Corbett, seconded by Councillor Featherstone. Whereas the Corporate Services Committee recommended to council that the trailer bylaw vacant land be sent to a legal team as read at the second reading. Be it resolved that council approves of this recommendation. All in favor? Carried. No items for discussion. Next, now I can go in here. Nothing with emergency services, nothing with planning, nothing with, recreation, nothing with the police services board. We don't have the conservation authority on here anymore. Is there a reason?
So, no, I don't know why it's not on here. We, for a while, Conservation Authority was meeting sometimes twice a week. In 1 month, I believe I had 6 meetings. The next month, I believe I had 5. And I've basically reduced myself to only going to the 1 meeting a month currently.
Okay,
So I don't know if it's because they were just having so many meetings that it's kind of got lost in the shuffle.
okay, maybe add back on.
We haven't received any,
Anything, so
usually we
that's
get a
what-
notice saying that the
The-
minutes are posted.
The majority of the meetings have all been in camera sessions.
Okay,
We've been having sometimes 2 a week, sometimes for fun, sometimes 3.
okay, that's fine.
So sorry about your luck. Yeah, holy cow.
No, I'm good now. We have one tomorrow.
Next, we're going to resolutions to be considered for adoption. The third reading of bylaw 2024-27 being a bylaw to regulate open burning. Moved by Councillor Clark, second by Councillor Corbett, that bylaw 2024-27 being a bylaw to regulate open air burning in the township of Bonfield be read a third time in open council and passed this 9th day of July, 2024.
And then we have to write the as amended. like we
As
did
amended,
In section 1.4,
where did it go?
yeah. B was it?
As amended in section 2.1 D, E, and 1.4 B. All in favor? Carried.
Your worship, now that the bylaw is passed, can I make a comment to our residents in Bonfield and outside that the fire permit application is available online. Therefore, they do not need to come into the township office to hand in their permit. It can all be done online and it takes 2 seconds.
Very good. That's good news. Hopefully this will make some people feel better that they can get it online and
Mhm.
if it's free and it's only once, as long as you own your house, right?
Yes.
Okay. Next one. Where's the one for the fees? Well, that
9.
was the one I passed. Next, we have resolution to adopt bylaw 2024-45 being a bylaw to execute an agreement
25.
between
There's one before that,
The fire department.
number 9B. the fire department fees.
Oh,
There's,
this
Yeah.
one should
Yeah,
this be here as well?
yeah, it should be up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll finish it after. Okay, moved by Councillor McGinnis, second by Councillor Featherstone, that a bylaw 2024-25, being a bylaw to provide for fire department fees in the township of Bonfield, be read a third time in open council and passed this 9th day of July 2024. All in favor? Carried. The next one is a resolution to adopt bylaw 2024-45. The move by Councillor Clark, second by Councillor McGinnis. The council for the township of Bonfield hereby adopts bylaw 2024-45, being a bylaw to execute an agreement between CUPE and the township of Bonfield as presented and is considered read 3 times and passed this 9th day of July 2024. All in favor? Carried. Next, we have a resolution to adopt bylaw 2024-48, being a bylaw to execute an agreement between Ontario Arts Council and the township of Bonfield. And moved by Councillor McGinnis, second by Councillor Corbett, that the council for the township of Bonfield hereby adopts bylaw 2024-48, being a bylaw to execute an agreement between the Ontario Arts Council and the township of Bonfield as presented and is considered read 3 times and passed this 9th day of July 2024. And Steve, did you want to mention what that's for?
Yeah, so that came out of our rec department, but that was spearheaded by Natalie Burton, and she's no longer with our rec department, but she was the one that kind of created this and worked mostly on the grant. She worked with our staff as well a little bit, and she's going to help run like a Bonfield Winter Festival with the money from the approved grant. So
Very good. And it's $5,000.
$5,000.
Very good. All in favor? Carry. Next is the correspondence. I'm very happy to accept the correspondence for the Township of Bowen Share.
Mhm.
That's how they're asking the province, they're asking the province to increase our infrastructure funding. I think we want to support that.
Nah.
Twice.
The next one is Township of Ontonby, South Monaghan, regulations for importation and safe use of lithium batteries. You want to support that one?
It's not near and dear to,
It's not, but I think that Canada and Ontario specifically is like the leader in this, so
We'll
I
support
support
it.
them, sure.
Sure, okay. What about the Animal Alliance of the Canada Fund with respect to the wild animal?
No.
What do you
Did
think,
you read
Steve?
it? This affects our municipality.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't, but
You want to support it?
I wouldn't.
No,
No, me neither,
Okay.
just the way you do it, just for fun.
all right. No support, you got that?
A and B.
Andre? Okay. I'm
Accept the
sorry, but
motion.
next we have to go.
Pass the motion to accept the correspondence, please.
Oh, we better do that. Moved by Councillor Featherstone. That is the way you spell your name. Second by Councillor Clark. The council receives the correspondence circulated with the agenda of July 9th, 2024. All in favor? Carried.
Forgot the H, you know, name, whatever. Sorry.
Accepted. Featherstone. Okay, I'm sorry to inform our audience, we have to go in closed session.
I will end the